This is another lovely episode of the Techpedition Podcast. I am here joined by my cohort, partner in crime, brother, friend, Clarence. How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. I love to be a cohort, as it were. Yeah, I'm feeling that, I think. What's going on, man?
Nothing much. I just hope that word thinks what I think it thinks.
Yeah, you and me both. You and me both. But yeah, cool. I'm doing good, man, and hope you're doing the same.
Cool. Yeah. So, let's. Do you want to do any plugs, any shout outs before we start, or should we just jump right into it?
Save them to the end. Let's just jump right into it.
Cool. So, start off with, I saw you posted this in our channel, and I saw this, but I didn't really, check it out. So I'd love for you to, do a little discussion on the Intel glasses, because they look a lot more stylish than the old Google goggles. Or Google Lens. I can't remember what it was called, but yeah. What you got?
Yeah. So these glasses, excuse me, give me 1 second. So these glasses are actually, if you go to The Verge, they have a full video about the glasses, but they actually are pretty much, they're made to be the simplified, xenophobic is not the word, non-technophobic version of Google Glass. Okay, there's a few differences. These glasses do not really have a camera on them. So, a camera to where you can take pictures that I know of. I think they're mainly made for notification consumption and directions and things like that. So they're taking this vastly different approach to make them look more normal. And they're actually developed by Intel, which is pretty cool. And
nice.
And yeah, it's a different take on the whole wearable glasses thing.
So, you mentioned that it doesn't have a camera. So does it actually project something on the lens that only you can see, or like how do they work?
Okay, let me not get this wrong. It uses retinal projection, so to display it in your eyeball. So it's using some type of laser to actually display the information. And it's kind of cool because the information is kind of sort of like a notification on your PC. It's like down in the corner. Mm-hmm. So you actually, you have to look down to see it. And when you look up, it like fades away. So I think it's a pretty cool thing if they keep it simple. Again, like anything, it could be the ultimate distraction. But I would like to see them keep developing this technology and try to, move that forward, because Google Glass is a good idea. Like most things, people just probably weren't ready for it when we first got it. But I believe these are going to be just as expensive or maybe even more as Google Glass. But, good to see them trying to move the technology forward, because, it's going to happen eventually, and Intel might as well be the company to push it forward.
Yeah, certainly. Cool. Yeah, I could see how this would be very useful. And the thing for me is, like they mentioned in Article, zero social cost. Because, whenever I was working at this company called Cerner, which is a big company in Kansas City, when I moved here, and there were numerous people walking around with Google Glasses, glasses on, and it was always just the weirdest thing. I would be like, yeah. And
I'm filming you.
You would subconsciously like avoid them. You know how like the sweet old ladies, if there's a thug riding walking down the street, they like may go to the other side of the street.
By thug, you mean black person?
I was not going to say that, but I'm just saying there was that gut wrenching like, let me go this way.
Nah, I feel you. I feel you.
Like, nobody wants to be recorded while they're being casual, and I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, well, they tried to do things with the original Google Glass to try to prevent some of this. They put a red light, sort of like a real video camera does, to show you it's recording. So they definitely tried to do things to make it a little more palatable. But still, I mean, people are often technophobes about, being recorded, being listened to, and I can definitely see the stigma. But I mean, with these glasses, they definitely, the Vaunt glasses from Intel, they very much look like the normal glasses you would see anywhere. There's not much difference from the look and feel of them. And I think this is what you have to do: let the technology kind of blend into what we already have to make it a little bit more accepting.
Cool. All right, cool. So, I guess moving on, I know you watched the Falcon launch. Was that this previous week that there was a Falcon launch? Was that like Monday?
Yeah,
was it the week before? Maybe I'm being late here.
It's been in the last week and a half, I believe. But yeah, I saw it. What you think of it, man?
Honestly, I thought it was pretty amazing. Just to me, the launch in itself wasn't that amazing because I mean I've seen a bunch of rocket launches, but to me the thing was the booster rockets like landing.
Yeah, that was
the whole
cool.
like precision. It's like they're barreling towards Earth, and then there's a sonic boom. They flip around, and then they just like lower themselves onto the platform.
Yeah,
I thought that was
just
amazing.
Dude, that was just freaking majestic, dude. I mean, you said the launch itself wasn't that impressive, but I don't know. I felt a little bit like Snoke, Raw Untamed Power. What is the Falcon 9 Heavy or the Falcon Heavy? I think they renamed it. But yeah, man, it's just like freaking phenomenal to see the private space industry bubble up and try to take us in a new path where we can reach for the stars once again. But totally agreed on the landing of the two booster rockets. That was freaking amazing. It was amazing. If you don't watch the video, but just for that, you will be greatly enthused because it is phenomenal.
It was like something out of like a sci-fi movie. Really, I never thought that I would actually see something like that like really happen. But as awesome as the Falcon Heavy launch was, SpaceX. The reason I bring it up is because they have a couple big things planned for this year that you may or may not know about.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of wanted to go over some of those. So they're going to be launching their first crewed flight. Not crewed as in like bad, but crewed as in people. They're doing a orbital flight, I guess. Orbital launch with a manned spacecraft called the SpaceX Crew Dragon. That's going to be scheduled for later this year, I think. So it's I think it's really interesting to see them moving in the manned flights. This may bring us one step closer to the whole Mars mission thing. So, that's one thing. Do you have any thoughts on that, manned flights?
It has to happen. I think that, I'm glad they're taking baby steps because, it's sort of like with the whole driverless car thing. You don't want anything bad to happen to like derail the whole trajectory of the project. So, just take their time, when they think they're ready for a crewed, flight, let's wait and just do it right and make sure all the, I's are dotted and T's are crossed and, just make it a success, which I think, SpaceX and as well as Blue Origin has done so far to try to push things along. But yeah, man, I'm ready for it. Again, it has to happen. And if we just do it right, the sky's the limit, pun intended.
Cool. And, I guess the other major thing would be the second Falcon Heavy launch, which will be in June. And, it's going to be carrying a few interesting payloads. The first one is a deep space atomic clock. So basically what this thing is from what I understand is exactly what it sounds like. It's a atomic clock that is flying through space that any kind of satellites or, if any kind of spacecraft, it's supposed to keep hyper accurate time. So any spacecraft can check it, for navigational purposes or whatever. And, the other thing that they're going to be doing, which is really interesting, is the whole light sail. The second version of light sail will be launching, which is pretty much what it sounds like as well. It's a prototype solar sailing spacecraft. And you can see, I think it's if you go to planetary.org, there's actually a page about it. And it actually looks really, really cool. So, that's definitely something. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is that the one that's supposed to be using that ion engine technology, or is it something totally different?
I believe so. I believe it is using some kind of ion. To be completely honest with you, I'm not 100% sure, but that sounds about right.
Cool. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
The second version of that will be launching with the Falcon Heavy, the second Falcon Heavy launch in June. So if you go to to planetary.org, there's a page for it, and there's actually an animation, so you can kind of see exactly what the craft looks like, and it's a really interesting concept. I'm excited to see where it goes, and apparently Bill Nye is like a spokesperson for it. So it's actually a really, really cool concept, and the design is really, really interesting. So definitely check it out.
Oh man, there's you remember Robert Picardo or the Dr. EMH from Star Trek Voyager?
Yeah, the doc.
Yeah, he does something called the Planetary Post, which is, I guess it's a weekly, but it's seems like it's a little more sporadic. But he does a show where he talks about space updates and stuff. And if you don't want to watch the show, just go watch the intro. I swear you will laugh your tail off because, I mean, I don't want to give it away. You just have to watch it, and trust me, you will get a good kick out of it. But it's pretty funny. But
right on.
Yeah, but yeah, just to piggyback a little bit off of our discussion of the Vault glasses, wearables. So you might want to watch going to China because, police are using, similar technology for, facial recognition, in China, which is just, kind of scary, but, you had to see it coming in a large sense.
Yeah, this thing freaks me out. I mean, it freaks me out that they do this at airports because, okay, so like, one of the Amazon keynotes from reInvent, they had this NSA person on, and she was discussing how they use machine learning and all these different technologies to recognize when somebody like walks into a airport or they're walking through security. How eventually you won't have to show your passport, you won't have to show any kind of ticket. You just walk through security and they know who you are just by, your biometrics and from all the data that they have. And the fact that they could have this on the street just really, really freaks me out.
Yeah. I mean, but think of it even now, man, like even the old, 5 year ago Google Glass paired with Facebook, you could pretty much recognize, anybody in your friends list just by, pointing the glasses at them and hitting a button, It's technologically possible even with Google Glass. So I can definitely see police utilizing this. But by the same token, again, just to the point with Google Glasses in general, it's creepy. But I mean, even to a larger point, I mean, it's going into the space of surveillance, data collection, profiling, which, any regime that's doing that, which America is doing it too, don't get me wrong, is just kind of scary.
Oh yeah, definitely. Big Brother just got a little bigger.
He ain't stopping no time soon.
Yeah, man, that's really freaky. Let's see. Moving on. What should we talk about next? You want to talk about Uber?
Sure. Let's talk about Uber.
Okay, so Uber is pretty much planning to take over the world. They've got their automated semi thing that's coming. They're really doing a lot with like self-driving cars. But, to reference Star Trek, the actor who plays Captain Cisco, he had this commercial come out around year 2000 is like, this is year 2000. Where are the flying cars?
Oh, you're doing great, Avery Brooks.
I was promised flying cars. And,
oh my God.
Like we finally may be getting there because apparently Uber's got something called Uber Air, and basically they're going to be using rooftops to transport people in the same manner as you may hail a Uber, on the street, but with aircraft. And there's this is a TechCrunch article, and there's actually a few concept designs of some of the aircraft they may use, and they look to be a hybrid between a helicopter and an airplane. Maybe some would even say a drone, but, a huge drone, maybe.
Yeah.
And the designs look really, really interesting. I mean, this just makes too much sense for them not to do. This is something I would never even thought of, but this is probably the way, air taxi as opposed to like small car that flies around. More of like an air taxi type thing. I think it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, I mean, I totally get it. It's definitely viable. I mean, definitely inner city travel. I mean, if you can knock off an hour off somebody's journey, and ultimately, I think the thing is to make it safe. Which this is arguably probably more safer, or could be more safe than a driverless car. So,
yes.
I mean, by that token, as long as we have the good laws in place to make sure, we limit any accidents that might happen. And, I think the value is definitely there if they can make it reasonably priced. But of course, the rich are going to be the people taking this up first, just like, Tesla and all other things pretty much.
Yeah. And, the trials aren't that far off either. It looks like the first test runs will be in Dallas and Los Angeles in 2020. So, not that far away. And in 2023, they will be doing like the first commercial grade flights. So I mean, this is like really, 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 really close. And it, like I said, it's not quite the flying car that we all imagined, but I can see how this could cut down on people needing parking spaces, cut down on emissions, because these will be electric flying vehicles. Just because the thing I think about is this. So we went to New York together. It was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And remember we just drove into Scranton? Was it Scranton, New Jersey? No. We didn't go to Scranton. Scranton's in Pennsylvania. We went to what is it? What is the city in New Jersey that we went to? I can't remember.
I can't remember either, but somewhere in New Jersey.
Newark, New Jersey. So when we went to New York, it was us and Jonathan Short, who was also on the STD podcast. Yeah. We went to we drove to Scranton, Newark, New Jersey. we had our hotel there, and basically every day we would take a train over to Manhattan from Penn Station, over to Manhattan, come out up in the Madison Square Garden, and basically you didn't need a car. I mean, I guess that's what I'm getting at is the city, the public transportation is so good that you really don't need a car in New York, and you really don't want one because the traffic is so bad. But I can only imagine how something like this could affect, more spread out cities like Dallas and Houston and Los Angeles. Because it may be possible in the future that you may not even need to own a car. I mean, even in Kansas City, like if they started doing something like this, it would be very possible that, I would need a car here. And I think that's really, really amazing that, that they're going to links like this. And it's not public transportation. It's private, but in the same way, it'll make people's commutes a lot more convenient. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where this goes.
Do you ever think do you ever think it could come to a point to where they take this same basis for this technology and do it more on a mass transit basis? Of course, we started with trains. Well, I guess stagecoaches first, whatever. But trains for mass transit, and then, that translated into subways and trains going into cities. And also you have buses in cities. But do you think it could ever be a point where you get on one of these things, and instead of it being a personal transport like we see here in this article, that it could be something like you see on Star Wars? It's this big thing that can carry a bunch of people, but it's electric and very efficient. And do you think it could ever get to that point?
You mean like a Hyperloop?
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope so. Even the Hyperloop thing, I don't want to. Let me just say that I would not want to be the first one to ride it.
Come on, it's safe. It's all relative. Everything's moving at 90 miles per hour, whatever it is.
I guess, perhaps, but it's just one of those things where I would like the technology to age a bit more before I go all in on something like that. There's just so much that could go wrong.
Yeah, I totally feel you.
Freaks me out.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Good stuff though.
But it's cool to see transportation actually, moving along, which, like I said, is great. So man, if I told you there was a new ESPN offering, would that excite you?
It would actually. Just another way to cut the cord. I think that's a really exciting proposition there.
And then at only $5, but of course there is a huge catch here. ESPN's new subscription app will cost $5 a month. But as this article states, it will not be a big hit. And why won't it be a big hit? Because it's not going to have any of the crap that you like about ESPN. To me, it's almost worse. And I'm not a huge ESPN watcher nowadays by any means. I used to be, huge sports, but it's like if you take all the things you love about ESPN, it's basically like an ESPN 3, but worse is what I'm kind of getting from this offering. But yeah, it's just really weird. And I can see if they're going to use this as a first step, but it's almost like, what are you doing? I don't know.
Yeah, I get that as well. The way the announcement's worded, or at least the ESPN announcement, it's supposed to be supplemental, but seeing as how you can't really get ESPN a la carte, that's what I was hoping this was, but the more I read, the more disappointed I was. Yeah, it's just not there. Yeah.
Cool beans.
I don't know. This is the thing that gets me. Like, why would people pay $5 more for stuff that isn't good enough to air on ESPN? Like, why? Why?
Exactly.
I don't understand. I don't get it. Like, this don't make no sense.
No, I totally agree with you on that, man. Just kind of again, like if they're setting a base to do something greater down the line, you know, it could be okay, but you know, you gotta get as you say, throw them a bone.
Seriously, you gotta have something. Be like, this is an exclusive something we're launching with this, and pay $5. Nah.
Yeah.
There's already too much ESPNs. Like, I don't need to pay $5 for more. It's too much. If this story was on Facebook, I would totally downvote it if I could.
Oh yeah, and that takes us to our next story, to where it is reported that Facebook is actually testing a downvote button. Now, this is, when I say downvote button, it's not for the average post. It seems like this is going to be more for more in the vein of page posts and public posts. So it's going to be a little bit different from the standard upvote, downvote button. But in that sense, I think they're going to be using this more so as for, again, they're beta testing it now, but they're going to be using it more so as a way to weed out fake news in questionable stories. It's just like a user-powered, a la Dig, a la Reddit, way of kind of policing some of the posts that, you know, may be questionable or it's just plain outright fake news.
Yeah. I just don't know how effective something like this would be on Facebook, because all their algorithms and crap that they, you know, use to serve you content, it basically already only sends you stuff that it knows you will like.
Yeah.
You know, every now and then you'll get something and you're like, what in the world? But for the most part, they've already tailor-made the experience that everything that hits your feed is something you're going to like. I mean, you know, every now and then, you know, there might be something where you're like, oh my God, and what do? You hide it and say, don't show it to me.
Yeah.
You know, like, I don't even see a need for this on Facebook.
Maybe. But you do get the bad stories sometimes too. And, you know, to me, I mean, personally, I think the big problem with Facebook is that I just want, and even Twitter has botched this now. I mean, I may have said this before on the show, but I just want the old Facebook where they just show me everything from the people I follow or the pages I follow. You know, there is so much stuff out there that is being presented on Facebook that you may never see. And by throwing the news feed out of the chronological order, you just kind of, it makes it just a guessing game, which I know, like you said, they're attempting to algorithmically make it more suited for your taste, quote unquote. But still, I don't know if I understand that. I don't like it, especially on Twitter. It makes zero sense on Twitter.
It's gotten so bad on Facebook that, like, I'm almost willing to, like, if they had a $5 option where it just threw everything from all of my friends and all of my pages in chronological order, I would almost, like, happily pay $5 a month just for that, because it's not really useful to me in its current form, because I want to see what's happening what are people talking about right now? Not what the most popular thing was that people talked about, or the thing that people paid the most for me to see. Like, I want to see, you know, and in some ways, Twitter has surpassed Facebook in that sense, is, you know, because you see what people are talking about right now, you know, and that you used to have that on Facebook and you don't anymore, and it kind of sucks.
Well, but even Twitter is not chronological anymore. But I think
it's not.
It's not.
Oh wow. Well, never mind then.
But by that sense, I do. To your point, though, I do think they do a better job of surfacing more relevant stuff. To me, on Facebook, it still seems highly random.
It really
I will give Twitter that. And then also a comment Kyle makes in our chat room, which you can find at facebook.com/techpedition, where he's saying, we were talking about the digital subscription services, ESPN, mainly, but he's just saying, like, you know, $5 here, $5 there, $5 somewhere else. Does it make it any cheaper? And I think I talked about this on our Grits call, is that, you know, it's almost like it's digital service mayhem, or it's going to get to the point where you might as well have cable if you want to watch everything. Now, for me, I don't want to watch everything. So it's totally fine for me because I'll just get the 3 things I want, pay about $30 and I'm happy. But, you know, in the case of the people who have to have everything, you know, I think sports may be the biggest barrier to cross when you go to digital. I'm certainly happy with the few things I have and I can survive. But again, people who love sports, it's kind of a tough road to try to get everything that you love.
Yeah. And me personally, like the way I see it is, and I was looking at YouTube TV yesterday and the channel list, because my wife is like crazy reality show person. And my daughter needs Disney Junior, and I just need some ESPN stuff to watch. And it's YouTube TV is $35 a month, and it has unlimited DVR. So I was taking a really, really hard look at that earlier, and I think that I might be trying that out once our agreement with Uverse ends, because I feel like we have a lot of channels now, to your point, that we just never even look at. If I could stream one of our televisions, it's like either going to be on ESPN, Bravo, or Disney Channel. Like those are really the only 3 channels we watch. So yeah, if I could do a service where I paid $10 for every channel that I was actually going to watch, you know, or if I could go straight to the provider, to your point, like I think that would be more effective for most people.
So you're saying I did try the YouTube TV to actually watch the Doctor Who Christmas special. BBC America's on there. But what did you do? They have every channel you want? You said they have Bravo as well?
Yeah, see, that was my big thing. I was going to move us to one of the other ones. I think it was DirecTV Now. One of those.
I tried that one too.
And I think the problem with that was I love the video quality, but the DVR just wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
And my wife just needs DVR because we rarely watch anything live. Yeah. Just because she likes to like fast forward through the commercials and she doesn't like the wait. So that would be huge for us. And, you know, I'll give it a look. What did you think of it? Like, did you try the DVR or anything?
The DVR worked. I think it always come to the point of nuanced things that makes one a little bit worse than the other. My big thing with the YouTube TV one is you can record a program, but it isn't smart enough to only record future episodes, which if they're storing it all in the cloud, I guess it doesn't matter. But I think it should be nuanced to say, just give me future episodes. I don't want to get, episodes.
Oh, it does everything?
Yeah, it does everything for that program on that channel.
Oh, man.
And especially in the case with BBC America, when they play Doctor Who marathons, probably once a week. Your DVR is going to fill up, which again, it's cloud based. So I don't even really know if it matters or if YouTube TV even has a limit, but I will say the video quality was excellent. The app was pretty good, and they do have apps on pretty much every platform, with the exception of Amazon. So,
okay. Yeah, I'll check that out then. It sounds interesting. I was more worried about the video quality than anything else, because this one thing I will say about Uverse and DirecTV is they have excellent video quality. Yeah. I wasn't crazy about Google's television service, but definitely give YouTube TV a try.
Cool beans. Excuse me. So I guess I will take the next one. So, starting in July of this year, Google will be actually, okay, well, let me try to explain a little bit further. So, when you go in your browser and it's an HTTPS site and it gives you like the green marker and says secure beside it. If it's an HTTPS site and the certificate is valid, it gives you that. So now if you go to a HTTP site, a non-secure site, it'll just put up this circle with an eye on it for information. And you click on it and it'll tell you, okay, this is not a secure site. Just meaning it's not a site that's HTTPS and has a valid security certificate. So starting in July, any site that is not HTTPS, they will be explicitly putting a not secure wording up there in the top of your browser bar, which, ultimately, I like the move to go HTTPS. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to make the web more secure. But by the same token, is Joe Smo with a WordPress site that he just hosts his blog on going to really go for an HTTPS site? Probably not.
Yeah, my whole thing about this is this actually affected, a lot of companies because if you don't have an HTTPS site, you're pretty much forced to buy a security cert because, you may not have anything to where you needed HTTPS. You could have just been serving static content with no logins or no, CDI, cardholder data or anything like that. So you may not need HTTPS.
Yeah.
You may not need anything encrypted. So the thing I don't like about this is that it's pretty much forcing everybody to do HTTPS. Because even some of my favorite sites now, they have the I, and it's like this site isn't secure, and it. Yeah. I don't know. To me, it seems a bit overbearing. Because this is a whole nuanced thing, right? So, like I was saying earlier, if you have logins, or if you're taking people's card numbers, or if you are you're a healthcare site and people log into the site to like get their insurance information or something, then you need HTTPS, and there's really no
exception really in that case.
Exactly. But if you're just like you said, Judge Schmo with a blog, you don't really need to pay $90 a year for a security cert. You just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of dumb, but it's an effort, a collective effort, I guess, by the browser and maybe even the web consortium to make the web a little bit more secure, which I do get. But I think I even remember at some point that Google was giving sites that didn't have HTTPS lower rankings. I don't know if that's still true, but yeah, I guess it's necessary. But like you said, everybody doesn't need it.
I don't like this, but Google pretty much controls the internet right now. So
the Google net.
So let it be done, Google.
Don't.
Yeah, I had come up with a really good. Okay, this is what I was going to say. So I know some of the more savvy of our users might be saying right now, "Hey, Carrie, there's this site or this service called Let's Encrypt where you can get SSL certs for free." And to that, I would say, do not use Let's Encrypt. And this is why.
Interesting.
Yes, you can get a free SSL cert, but the problem with it is a lot of nefarious sites and nefarious people use Let's Encrypt to do nefarious things. So while the cert may be, it may be recognized now, but there's really nothing to stop somebody from or from Chrome or from Google saying, hey, we're getting a lot of malicious activity from Let's Encrypt, signed certificates, so we're going to disallow them all. Well, yeah, there's that. And there's also the fact that you don't really want to associate your business or your site with a certificate authority that's, known for doing shady stuff. So,
yeah.
And to be fair, it's not Let's Encrypt that's doing the shady stuff. It's people using the service. So, yeah, just something to think about, I guess. Well, moving on from security to less, I guess let's just stay on security for a second. So as you may know, the Winter Olympics the Winter Olympics opened, the previous week, and, it appears that the hackers have been out in full force because there was a cyber attack on the Olympics.
What? Huh?
The Olympics are in Pyeongchang, South Korea, and television and internet access was affected, and the actual Olympic site went down, so people weren't able to print out tickets to attend the Olympics.
What?
And it looks like the issues have been resolved, but they would not reveal the source of attack. Being in South Korea, this tells me one of two things. One, it was either North Korea, or two, Russia's salty about not being able to be in the Olympics because they were doping.
Yeah.
And they're doing it. So,
yeah.
I don't know. Just a fun aside there.
Yeah, yeah.
my thing is, like, I don't get why if you're doing something as important as running the Olympics, why not have an air gap there for like the critical services?
Systems. Yeah.
So like if you have a POS system printing out tickets for people to get into the Olympics, why not? Why do you have that connected to the internet? Like, why?
Well, it everything is connected, though, when you really think about it. I do agree with you on the air gap part, but how do you do it when it ultimately still has to connect to the same system when half the people are buying the tickets online and some of them are buying them in person? It has to ultimately connect somewhere. And if there's a vulnerability somewhere in that chain, it's still potential to be taken down, which I'm pretty sure it can be done. But yeah.
Yeah. Even with the air gap, people can use pineapples and stuff to get in. So, I mean, that's not really neither here nor there. So, yeah, you're right.
Hackers be hacking.
Yes, they be. So I posted this story about Microsoft giving away free cloud storage, but that's not really the part that I wanted to talk about. But I'll hit on it real quick. So basically, if you're a business and you're using Dropbox or Google Storage or Box, Microsoft will pay you. Well, not pay you, but they will give you free OneDrive for Business until your current contract expires. Just I don't know.
I mean, but there was a thing in recent years where Microsoft was giving away free OneDrive it was more at a personal level. They were like giving away free 1 gig or X amount with, I think it was 100 gigs. If you like bought a copy of Windows or maybe it was Office. It was something. I can't remember exactly.
Was it a Windows Phone they were giving away?
Yeah, it was Windows phones too. Like they had partnered with a bunch of people where they were giving away storage. And I'll just say like personally, from my point of view, like it's a limited time offer. So this is the ultimate, I'm going to give you a taste to get you in and, then make you pay for it, which is logical. But I'm going to say it did kind of happen to me where I had a bunch of stuff in OneDrive and then my time ran out for the free part. And I had to be like, oh, I need to cut this down so I won't get charged or, So, yeah, I mean, it's cool that they're providing it. But again, they're not going to do anything like this unless they have a specific reason, and reason being, of course, they want you to drop all these other Dropbox, Box, and Google platforms to ride their wave.
And it's just one of those things where, like, depending on your situation, like, this may or may not make sense. Like, if you don't have that much data stored in Google Drive or something, yeah, maybe. But if you're like me and you got like 20 to 30 gigabytes of stuff stored in Google Drive, I'm not gonna download all that and then send it to Microsoft. Or maybe they have some kind of plugin where you can transfer it. But it just seems like it's more trouble than it's worth to me. Considering that how cheap all these services are. I mean, you can get 10 terabytes of data in Google Drive for like $99 a month.
Yeah.
So it's like, is it really that much cheaper? It's definitely not that much better. Cause I mean, to me, cloud storage right now is a commodity. Like, I mean, if you're dealing with one of the big guys, like Alphabet or Microsoft or Dropbox or even Box, which I use to share. Me and some of my friends that do like musical remixes, we use Box and Dropbox all the time to share stems if we're working on a song together. It's just there's not really a huge incentive to move. I don't think.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'm right from trying though. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's always what's going to make this next service better, and I talk about this a lot to people I know about different things, whether it be storage or whatever. Like, if you're going to get me to stop using the thing I'm using, you have to show me something that's considerably, not just better, considerably better than what I'm doing to offset the hassle of moving from one service to the other. I mean, whether it be service or whether it be hardware, it has to be something that's a significant difference. Unless you're just, one of the people like us that just like to try everything. So,
Yeah. And, the second part of this article that I posted to kind of get to the meat of why I wanted to share it is because according to Cisco's Global Cloud Index, the growth of IoT and data center demands, they're saying by 2021, IoT connections are expected to reach 13.7 billion. And that, in 3 years, cloud computing will virtually replace data centers. And I don't agree with this at all. Because cloud computing is expensive. In a lot of cases, it's more expensive than buying a server, putting it in a data center, and paying for it to be there. Like, in some cases, it's significantly expensive. And this is what I do for like a living. So I look at these numbers all day. Like, my company spends thousands of dollars, and we don't have like tens of thousands of dollars for like AWS to put stuff there. And it's not even like a third of our stuff. Like, it's so cost prohibitive right now. To me, cloud computing is where virtualization was about 10 years ago. Yeah, it's the cool new thing, but it doesn't make fun. If you have a bunch of servers, it just didn't make sense to throw all that away and spend all this money to virtualize it when, the stuff you have works just fine. So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I guess I'm asking for a little clarification for me being a little server network guy. So when you say cloud computing, are we saying more so, things like Azure or AWS versus having your own physical machine or your physical virtualized machine set stored in the data center? Are you talking about putting it into a larger service when you say cloud computing?
So when I say cloud computing, what I'm referring to is, excuse me, Google Cloud, AWS,
big boys.
Azure, the big boys. I'm sure there's some other ones. I think there's OpenStack, but who crap uses OpenStack? I don't know anybody actually uses that. That's by Rackspace, I think, created that. But but yeah, Cisco's saying that cloud computing is going to replace all of that. I don't see it unless it gets a lot cheaper. I don't see it.
But I mean, if you look at it from another sense, you want scalability, you want replication across not only country, but across continent or overseas or whatever. So I can see in some cases, I don't see where it will be more cost effective, but I can see it being more. I can see it being viable when you talking about a service such as IoT that's ingesting a bunch of data from different sources, and the main purpose is just to crunch and display this data in the format that's that can be used by the end user. I can see that being worth it in some sense, but by the same token, I don't see it being cheaper.
Yeah, and to me, if you're a business, it's all about return on investment.
Yeah.
Like if you have a bunch of users, not a bunch of users, if you have a bunch of customers and you're able to justify going into the cloud and you're willing to take that hit on your bottom line, and if that makes you more likely to get more customers being in the cloud, then I see that. But for some services businesses, I just don't think it makes sense to go into the cloud because it's going to cost you more money than benefit that you will receive. So like that's my whole weirdness. I love cloud. I think it's great and I think it's convenient, and the redundancy and failover options are like endless.
Yeah.
But it comes down to money to me. That's not the most important thing, but the reason I don't believe this is just because of how much it costs, I guess.
Yeah. No, and I totally get that.
I guess it is about money.
I totally get that, man. That makes a lot of sense. So
cool.
Do we have anything else on the docket?
Yeah, I think we knocked it out. As far as stories, do you have any picks? Anything cool things you want to talk about? I posted too, but if you have anyone you want to talk about too.
Man, what picks do I have? I'll let you go first while I think about it.
Okay, cool. So I have two picks. The first one is, it looks like this company called FSP, which is a pretty much a high-end power supply maker. They have come out with a water-cooled power supply.
What?
It is called the Hydro PTM Plus, and it is a modular power supply that actually will have a water cooling block or cooling. It has water.
Whoa. I'll just stop you right there. I'm gonna let you. I know you're gonna go into it a little bit more, but to me, having water and electricity so closely interweaved is just a recipe for disaster. What makes this viable, or even something that someone would want to do?
Well, the cool thing about this is that, power supplies tend to get pretty hot.
Good point.
And the cool thing about this is that, seeing it has a water block installed on it, you hook it up to your loop, and basically you have a completely silent power supply unless you're in high load, and then I think the fan kicks on, and it's a quiet fan anyway. But I think as long as it's below 50% load, you get no noise from your power supply.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
If you have a souped up water cooled build, and let's not mince words here, like water cooling is expensive. You can spend as much on your water cooling loop as you do on the rest of the stuff in your computer. Cause I actually, I priced me doing a custom water cooling for my PC, and it was going to cost me about $700 or $800 to get everything high end, top of the line, with, non-flexible tubes that you have to use a heat gun to kind of bend them.
Wow.
It was going to be about $700, $800. And, this thing is not cheap. It's 80 plus platinum. 1400 watts. And, 1400 watt power supply is going to be $200 or $300, even if you get one that isn't water cooled, because I think this is the only one it is. But this bad boy is $700. So, you got your RGB, you got your 80 plus platinum, 1400 watts, and, high quality Japanese components. Like, this is, this would be a awesome power supply if it didn't have a water block in it. But this is definitely not for everybody. I guess I'll just go out and say this, but if you are looking for that, that last piece to go into your water cooled, mothership, this would be it right here.
Yeah, sweet.
Got another $700 laying around that you're looking to do something with. There you go. And I don't think you'll be overclocking your power supply. Though. Yeah, somebody in the comments.
Cool.
That was funny.
Well, I guess if I had a parting gift, I guess we probably talked about this already, but I'll say, if you have not watched the SpaceX launch of the Falcon Heavy, do yourself a favor, go watch it. Cause honestly, I'm not that huge of a space person or NASA person. I love the sci-fi aspects, but I'm not, I say I love it, but I'm not just into the whole inner workings of the NASA and the private space programs. I guess I'm a light interest in it. I do read the stories when they come out, but I'm not just seeking it out or whatever. But even if you are not, do yourself a favor, spend 10 minutes every time, 10 to 12 minutes, and go watch the freaking launch of the Falcon Heavy, because it's freaking phenomenal. And to top it all off, you get to see a Tesla in space. So hey, you can't fret about that, can you? And and also I'll just say the finale of the first season of Star Trek Discovery is actually coming out this evening. Which if you're listening to this on a Monday, more than likely, it was last night, but it's digital. So go and watch it. And if you haven't watched any of the new Star Trek, you can actually sign up for a 7-day trial. The first season is over. Go watch it all, binge it. Thank me later. But don't fuss at me if you don't like it. Just a little bit. But if you want to hear people talk about it as well, you can check us out, me, Carrie, along with Kyle, Jonathan, and Jeremy, and sometimes Andy at stdpodcast.com, to where we, dive into each episode. So it's a lot of fun. That's at stdpodcast.com.
Cool. Yeah. Definitely check out STD Podcast. And for my final pick, as you know, or you may or may not know, the SNES Classic was a big hit.
Oh, yes.
It came out sometime last fall, winter, spring, no, fall or winter. Okay. Oh, yeah, I don't know why I said spring, but anyway, there's this company called Analog who just is about to release this competitor, if you will, to the SNES Classic called the Super NT. And this is a complete reimagining. Okay, so the SNES Classic, I don't want to get too geeky here, but the SNES Classic is using a ARM processor, and it's using software emulation. Okay, so basically they have this piece of computer hardware that is given a software layer on top of it that runs emulated games, on non-native hardware. So basically, it's not a genuine SNES experience, if you will. If we want to get, in the splitting hairs, the Super NT basically is, it's pretty much a pseudo reproduction of the original SNES with 1080p resolution. It uses a field programmable gate array, which is basically the simplest way to explain FPGAs is that it is a generic CPU that somebody can put hardware instructions into to be a specialized CPU. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So basically you can basically, for all intents and purposes, rewire this generic chip to perform specific functions. So basically what this company has done with this FPGA processor is they have created a hardware SNES. This does not use software emulation at all. 1080p, zero lag, and basically it uses cartridges. So you plug your actual SNES cartridge into this console, and it will render it in 1080p glory with no lag. And it is, there's some videos of it. It's pretty amazing what it does. It basically brings the SNES into 2018 is basically what it's doing. And you also get the 8-bit wireless gamepads, which also work with the SNES Classic. But Digital Foundry They do a lot of like hardcore hardware analysis and whatnot. They actually have a review of this console. I'll see if I can find it and post it in the notes. But they go into painstaking, nauseating detail on what's so cool about this console. Because I'm not one to delve into a whole lot of technical jargon, but trust me when I say, if you are looking for the genuine high definition SNES experience, this is what you want. And it's on pre-order right now. It's $189, which sounds like a lot.
That's more than the regular SNES.
Like I said, it sounds like a lot, but the reason I don't think that's a bad price is because the software inferior SNES Classic is $80. It's like $80-$90.
Yeah, good point. And it's not expandable.
And it's not expandable. You get the games. Well, you can hack it and put more games on it. But if you have a bunch of SNES cartridges laying around, you're not plugging them into a SNES Classic. Yeah. This is what you want.
So is this cartridge based only, or does it have any type of digital integration?
I think that it has some kind of digital integration because there's one game. What is the game called? It's Super Turrican. Super Turrican. They actually have a director's cut of it included with the console because their original, I think it was Factor 5, the developers, back when they released the game in 93, the game that they made was too big to fit on the cartridge. It was 6 meg, so they ended up having to cut it down to 4 megabits to actually get it on the cartridge. So this is actually something that you can't buy in a cartridge. It's completely new. Well, not completely new, but it's like a director's cut of Super Turrican. And I think it has an SD card slot. I think. So you may or may not be able to use. Oh no, it's just for firmware. So no, this is strictly cartridges.
Well, I will say about this whole, because there's been plenty of other companies that have done this in various forms. Like I think Hyperkin may be one of them. And
no. Those are definitely inferior to this. Those are using software emulations. They're using open source software emulations. Yeah, there's not anywhere near this.
Yes. Yeah. Well, the only reason I brought those up because I was going to talk about the big gray area that's with these consoles, and I don't even know if it is anymore. Has like the time passed where they can actually emulate this stuff, or I mean, was it all reverse engineering? Like, how is this even a viable thing to do and sell as an official product in a store? And I've seen these in plenty of stores where it's undoubtedly a knockoff of the original. But I mean, how is that okay? I don't. Explain to me that.
I think the reason these are okay and that the Hyperkins are okay is because they aren't using any of Nintendo's intellectual property. They're not actually including any games on it. It's actually just a piece of hardware that you can plug a cartridge into. And I don't know if any way that Nintendo could sue or that they would even want to, because it's not like they're making a hardware reproduction of the Wii or the Wii U or the Switch. It's an older console that they probably don't even really care that much about. It's definitely a gray area. I don't know the particulars there, but for some reason they haven't historically gone after people that do this. So,
well, I mean, to me, it's similar to, it's just a hardware version of what you see in some of these software emulations that the software emulators, I think, have generally been, they let them be fine and let them exist on the server as long as they're not dumping the ROMs out.
Well, yeah, and the thing about, you bring up a good point there, because I think the thing about emulators is that as long as they don't use any of the original tech, as long as it's not pirated or, they don't use any of the original software libraries, if they can, from the ground up, reverse engineer SNES and come up with their own solution for playing the games, I don't think it's illegal.
Yeah.
But
makes sense.
If they do, because I know with a lot of the PlayStation emulators, you used to need a BIOS, you used to need a PlayStation BIOS to actually run the emulator. So what they would do was they would release the software package without the BIOS on their website, and that's illegal. And then you would have to go find the BIOS somewhere else illegally to put into the emulator for it to run. So I guess that's kind of where it goes.
Anybody remember Bleem out there? Yeah.
Oh man. Sony was so mad
back in the day, and it only half worked. They eventually got it together at the end of it, but by that point, I was kind of uninterested in them, in the PlayStation emulation things.
It's true. But EPSXE is still holding it down.
Oh, okay.
Still works great.
All right.
If you haven't tried that.
Is that just original PlayStation?
There's actually a PS2 emulator too. I can't remember the name. I think it's like PCSX2. Yeah, PCSX2. That's a PlayStation 2 emulator, and it works. I actually had gotten rid of my PlayStation 2 by the time Final Fantasy 12 came out. So I bought Final Fantasy 12, the PlayStation 2 version, and I had played through the whole thing on an emulator.
That's crazy.
On my computer. And now that the Zodiac Age is out for PC, I'm going to play through that.
If you make it, they will come.
Exactly.
Cool beans, man.
Oh, I guess we're done, huh?
Yeah. I guess if you're watching this on Facebook, you already know how to catch us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Techpedition, Techpedition on Twitter, and all the other good stuff. And you can send us fans@Techpedition.com. And subscribe.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
All right, guys.
Peace.
Very, very quick. Techpedition. Very, very quick. Techpedition. Very, very quick. Techpedition. Very, very quick. Techpedition.
I can't beat that. It just smells burnt and dusty.
Hey guys, don't miss an episode of the Techpedition Podcast. For more information, go to techpedition.com/subscribe. TECHPEDITION.com.